Happy Friday, everybody. And let us
Hello.
know if you can hear us okay, those on Instagram. And welcome everybody watching us on YouTube, Facebook. It's another Friday. Every other Friday we are live. My name is James Marin, Integrative Registered Dietitian, Environmental Nutritionist.
I'm Dahlia Marin, registered dietitian nutritionist, and for those of you who know us, we are the co-founders of an integrative dietetics practice, Married to Health.
Yes.
And we come to you live every other Friday. This is kind of a double feature because we went live last Friday with one of our dietitians as well. We talked all about calories and kind of how our practice approaches calories and really the concept of calories and what that means to us as practitioners. So this week we're coming to you, just the two of us, and we come to you every other week to talk about all things gut health.
And drop a comment, drop a thumbs up if you can hear us okay. The audio, we're always worried about our audio. It's like, oh, there's so many components here. So throw a thumbs up. Let us know if you can hear us okay. If you're watching this live, especially for our Good Gut members, you can, we're saying cannot hear you guys. See, that's why I worry about it. That's why I worry. Let's see. All right, we're going to do a little test here because usually...
Can you guys hear us now?
Let me know if you guys can hear us now, especially on Instagram. Let's see. We might start over on Instagram. Hold on a second.
Be right back. And for those of you live who are hanging out with us on YouTube, on Facebook, Anjali, I hope I said that correctly. Thank you so much for being here, being with us. And we're excited. We love talking about all things gut health. So this is a topic that's near and dear to our hearts. All topics of gut health are. And we know so many people are living out there and really surviving every single day through gut issues. And if you're not, that's amazing. We know James doesn't deal with any gut issues. So that's wonderful. Such a blessing. But if you are, we are here for you. And we, especially as two plant-focused, good gut-focused registered dietitians, we always want to make sure that you and your family, your entire family, can eat and tolerate a wide variety of foods. That's the number one thing we hear from our patients. They say, I want to eat healthier. I want to eat fiber. I want to eat beans. I want to eat these different things. They make me bloated, right? Or I don't feel well when I eat them. So if that resonates with you, we are here for you. And we are here through all ages and stages. And that's why we do. We see kids, we see adults as well, because we want to support every single member of your family from womb to tomb. So today's topic that we have is good gut for generations.
Right. And specifically for focusing on childhood, focusing on your children, if you have children. And honestly, if you were a child, everyone was a child at some point. So even if you don't have kids right now, you were a child. So understanding the aspects of childhood and how that plays in to your gut health as it is today is huge, because one of the things we always preach, and if you guys have watched any of our lives or videos elsewhere, you know, we always talk about patience, right? It's a huge factor in your healing. It's a huge factor in life, right? Being patient and really helping your body and that parasympathetic nervous system calm down and be patient and not expect, okay, I've had gut problems for 25 years. I'm going to fix it in 2 weeks, right? Rarely does that happen. So we are very honest with our patients. We're very honest with all of you. And it's understanding, why is this? Because chances are you've been constipated for a while. Chances are you've had diarrhea for a while. Chances are, if you're like us and we were 90s kids, you had a course of antibiotics in your life, maybe 2, maybe 20, maybe 200.
I've had a patient tell me she's had probably taken close to 100 courses of antibiotics throughout the span of her life, and she's only in her early 30s. This might resonate with you. And that's why when we speak with our patients or we interact with anybody, we're always asking, one of the first questions we ask is, tell me your health story. Start from the beginning. We want to know, were you vaginal delivery via C-section? Whatever works best for the mom is clearly great for the baby. research does show that when we are vaginally delivered and we are vaginally delivering babies when possible, this inoculates babies with mom's vaginal microbiome. So they're exposed to different microbiota and different microbes when they are being vaginally delivered. So we ask that, were you vaginally delivered? Were you breastfed? We know breast milk contains certain immunoglobulins that can't be replicated in formula. So we want to know, like, was your mom able to breastfeed you? Were you a colicky baby? When we'll talk a little bit about colic, we'll touch on it a little bit, but was your gut kind of showing signs of maybe alteration from the very beginning? What did your diet look like? Yes. How many courses of antibiotics did you take? Did you experience trauma in your early life or in your life at any point? So gut health starts not even just from day one earthside. Gut health starts, really amazing studies have shown, and I always reference this one study that really found that the first 1,000 days of life are very formative to the gut microbiome. That includes in utero. So those 10 months, nearly 10 months that mom was pregnant, mom can pass on some of her microbiome to baby. So mom's microbiome can influence that. I'll ask my patients that sometimes, the ones who say, and they do say, I came out of the womb with gut issues. I'll ask, does your mom have gut issues? How was your mom's gut when she was pregnant with you? Not that we can go back, we don't have time machines to change it, but it does give that perspective that James was mentioning, that you've lived with gut issues for 47 years and then you want to figure it out in a 4-week program. That might not be possible, but we can use the clues that we have to figure out what we can do from what we know and what we can work with.
Yes. And even studies showing that, what was always perceived as a sterile environment known as the amniotic fluid, right, where the baby is in the amniotic environment, in the amniotic sac, is not sterile, right? We're finding that there are microbes there. And what's really cool is there was a study done where they showed pathogenic bacteria and different microbes and even viruses there. But why isn't the baby, in need or suffering or being damaged or anything like that when there's pathogenic microbes there? So it's important to understand that, look, it's not always a case of like, oh, there's a pathogenic bacteria, let's kill it, it shouldn't be there. No, again, what we preach and what we really educate and show based on the research is that there's a place for all living creatures, including microbes. E. coli and that strain has a purpose, right? C. diff has a purpose. Staph aureus has a purpose, right? So yes, they can be pathogenic, but they serve a purpose as well, just like rats and raccoons and wolves and coyotes. They can be annoying. They can be nuances or a thorn in your side. Nuisances. A nuisance is what I meant. But they serve a purpose. We're not there saying we got to kill all the rats and kill all the rodents. No, that would be a huge hit to the ecosystem. So we have to look at it in the same way.
But you do try to understand, are they over concentrated, and what else as a compensatory mechanism, what else is being kind of down regulated, right? We know that if we're overrun with rodents, if we're overrun with any of those things, it will throw another ecosystem out of balance. And that's really the name of the game. Isn't that just life, right? Balance.
Yes.
We're always searching for that balance.
And let's get into kids and childhood and your childhood and kind of go through some of these steps of like, okay, what can maybe cause this imbalance? And maybe it's not a big thing. It could be a big thing. Maybe you were born extremely early, right? And there were complications in your birth. That could be huge. That could be the big root of your gut problems for sure. But for most people, it is like this slow, and we like to give that river analogy for those that either work with us or have been listening to us for a while. We like to give this river analogy where over time, as you build next to the river, as you pollute the river, as some trash from the local neighborhood makes its way into the river, it slowly starts to kind of misdirect that river, right? It slowly starts to alter that river's ecosystem. And fast forward 30 years and you have a dam of tires and the water's polluted. There's not that many frogs like there used to be there. The fish have kind of left, et cetera, right? And over time, you're like, oh man, what happened to my river? And so initially it can be something huge. It can be mom. Like, let's start with mom. Mom maybe wasn't that healthy going into getting pregnant to begin with. Can go as far back as that. Can even be something grandma was exposed to. So we can go pretty far back. But let's stick with mom. I think mom could be exposed to secondhand smoke, could be drinking a little bit before she knew she was pregnant. Mom could have, like Deli was saying, a
Mold.
host of health issues and other exposures like mold, and you don't even know it, right? And that's nothing, that's totally out of your control, right? So it's understanding, man, I could have been exposed in utero. We call that teratogenic effects. And wow, I had no control over that. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. And that is almost a stress reliever for some people, because a lot of our patients feel like it's all on them. It's all their fault. I did
And they
this.
ask, like, but I'm eating the perfect diet and I exercise the perfect
Right.
amount and I'm working on my stress reduction. Why do I still have gut issues? Sometimes these things precluded you even being born. So,
Totally.
not to give it an out or to just make you feel hopeless of saying, well, all those things apply to me.
Right.
I have no hope in this life for my gut to be healthy. That's not the case at all. It's to
No.
say, understand, put into perspective what happened, understand what you can change. And if you are a parent or you're planning on becoming a parent, understand the impact that your health choices might have on your future children. And maybe that will help kind of shape your path and shape their path. Because when you're getting healthier for you, they're getting healthier and vice versa. So
Totally.
we want to give some little tangible takeaway tips today of good gut for all generations, right? Womb to tomb. We're all about that.
Right. So let's continue that. You're pregnant now, and hopefully mom is eating. So what mom is eating and drinking, and hopefully she's eating in a really healthy, well-balanced way, like all Americans do. Here in the United States, we're all eating the best organic, healthy whole foods, right? Probably not, right? So, okay, there's that. Let's say at birth, is it C-section? Is it vaginal? We know baby going through the vaginal canal and being exposed. And hopefully, if you are a C or had a C-section, you were a C-section baby. This isn't as likely in the past, but now they are swabbing. They're getting some of the mucus and secretions from mom's vagina and swabbing the baby with it to inoculate baby with those microbes. So, who knows? Only you know. How were you born? Or even ask mom, ask dad, ask anybody who might know. How was I born? Then from there we go into feeding, right? Because you're going to be hungry. You just are in this new world. Okay, where am I? What's going on? I'm hungry. What is that first food? It's typically colostrum from the breast, right? And that's not always the case. Sometimes mothers can't breastfeed for whatever reason, but typically from studies for different reasons, yeah, but typically from studies we're seeing breast milk is amazing. It's going to give those human milk oligosaccharides. It's literally seeding and passing on the mother's microbiota to that baby, right? So you are getting, this is like, we like to call it this like first inheritance, right? Like you were talking about, like if you're putting a savings account away for your kids, or if you have a trust fund or whatever, I mean, this is it, breast milk, right? And it's quite amazing. Were you going to say something about?
Well, it was, there are studies that show that outside of providing sugars, because oligosaccharides are chains of carbohydrates, for the baby, there's not necessarily nutritive value of these human milk oligosaccharides for the baby per se,
Right.
but for the microbiome. This is literally the food for the developing gut. So as baby's gut is developing, these human milk oligosaccharides are causing this amazing explosion of hopefully commensal or healthy or anti-inflammatory microbes in their gut. And yeah, this is something that's amazing that can't be replicated.
Right.
So moms have a big role. Somebody asked a great question. Do you know of any evidence that the father's sperm quality of contributing to gut issues?
I love that.
And so, yeah, that's a great question.
Yes.
We know that the microbiome can affect sperm. So we know that there is a direct link between the gut microbiome and our hormones. And there is a very, very direct link on that. The sperm have its own microbiome. So if dad's microbiome was altered, that can cause alterations in the sperm.
And there are some studies, I really have to revisit that because I'm not always looking at sperm studies.
Not
but,
that we're hating on women, right? Like,
no,
we do
yeah,
everything that we can. So please
course.
don't make this feel like, oh shoot, I had a C-section, or like I couldn't breastfeed. This is not to
Oh,
shame
yeah.
you at all. It's just if
And
you plan to, maybe think of possible reasons.
yeah, and speaking from a male's perspective who helped make a child, my little role that I play. Yeah, sperm quality does matter. The health of the male in this does matter, because you are talking about DNA, right? We are facilitating and providing DNA. For men and women, stores of antioxidants are important. These polyphenols and phytonutrients from food play a huge role in fertility, play a huge role in DNA protection. A lot of these phytonutrients, specifically the greens you find in kale and broccoli or any other green vegetable, we know that chlorophyll is that pigment. It can bypass the nucleus of a cell and actually protect and clean up our DNA. What is happening on a day-to-day basis? I know we're getting like kind of off topic here, but hey, you guys have questions? We'll go into it. Why not? This is the fun of being live. So what's really cool is literally day to day of why we're talking and moving and breathing and making skin tissue, or you're repairing your gut lining, is because your nucleus, your DNA is coding that. It's constantly coding. And so imagine a room of 1 million people just typing or something on a computer. They're coding, right? You might imagine Google or Amazon or Tesla, whatever, coding, coding, coding. That is literally happening in our body, right? It's just, they're not people typing, it's your DNA. And if these people are well hydrated and well rested, and they're typing and typing, they feel good, they love what they're doing, it's a healthy environment in terms of like work life balance and everything, they're going to do a really great job, right? The same is true for your nucleus. If you are hydrated, you're getting all your electrolytes, you're eating all that chlorophyll and carotenoids, and it's wonderful. That DNA is like, yeah, let's code for proteins and all these wonderful things, and let's get moving, let's get repairing, let's get building. What happens on the other end of that spectrum? If you're not sleeping enough, you're not eating right, you're eating the burgers, whether it's even Beyond Burgers or whatever. You're smoking, you're drinking soda, you're having too much sugar. The list can go on and on, right? You get the point. The
More
point is
inflammatory lifestyle contributors and more inflammatory foods that you're consuming. And it's not to say these things are bad inherently, but it's what does your balance look like of those foods? So bringing it all back to balance.
And I like to bring it back to this analogy because it makes so much sense, right? Because now imagine this 1 million people typing and coding, and they are not feeling well. They didn't sleep well. They're not hydrated. Oops, that 0 should have been a 1. And oh, okay. And so you get more of that error. You get more of these little errors that your body has to then take care of later, hopefully, right? Down the chain of command. Why not prevent them at the source? Why not prevent them as you're transcribing this DNA? And we know your microbial DNA plays a huge role in this. So they are directly being affected by what you're eating and drinking. So that long answer is to say, yes, men, your sperm matters. Your sperm is going to be affected by this. Your sperm is going to contribute this healthy or maybe not so optimal DNA for that future baby. And that baby could have been all of you or any of you watching. Who knows what mom and dad were doing? This is why now is a perfect time to start for the future. Now is when you're making changes for your great grandkids that you will not meet, right? And not know, but you are creating a lineage. This is the inheritance that will be passed on, and that's DNA. That's some of the greatest gifts that we can all give.
So as you're investing in crypto, invest in your DNA quality
Yes,
as well.
invest in crypto, but also invest in, our number one investment is our health, I would say overall.
Absolutely.
That is our number one investment. That's why we do what we do, obviously, but yeah.
So yeah, we've taken you guys back to the beginning, right? Things to kind of ask yourself, if you are suffering with really long-term gut issues, what did those first 1,000 days of my life look like? I'm hearing more and more questions from moms nowadays asking, should I give my baby probiotics? And we know really for breastfed babies, at least, vitamin D is really the only thing you should be supplementing your baby with. There are no compelling studies to really support providing probiotics to your baby. If you're breastfeeding, the baby is receiving probiotics. If you aren't breastfeeding and baby's being formula fed, once they start introducing solids, they're getting in those prebiotics. So they're getting in foods for the probiotics. But so many studies have even shown that, when probiotics are given, and they've done studies. There was actually a really good study that provided probiotics to both mom and baby. And in this really great study from UC Davis, this came out in 2017. The longest beneficial yield that was gained from providing probiotics was only 3 weeks. Even if they continued to supplement for months or years, they only yielded benefits for 3 weeks post supplementation. That's not going to necessarily have long-term changes in the gut microbiome. So again, everyday habits matter over saying, well, I'm going to just let my child eat whatever they want. I'm going to try to give them a probiotic. It's the other way around. You want to say, I will only resort to some of these things if something is going awry. If my baby is dealing with something that warrants them taking probiotic, maybe they have necrotizing enterocolitis, maybe they have pouchitis, maybe they have other things going on that warrant taking a probiotic, or maybe they're suffering from very severe colic and your pediatrician recommends it or your dietitian recommends it. Those are some of the instances where you might consider certain strains, right? Strains like Bifidobacterium infantis, certain lactobacillus strains, those have been shown to benefit. But unless your baby really, really is exhibiting symptoms, and even if then, I wouldn't just willy-nilly go haphazardly giving probiotics, but really focus on those everyday things that you can do. So that's in the first, 1,000 days of life. If you can breastfeed, breastfeed for the benefit of the gut. And that's what we're focused on, for the benefit of the gut. If you're not able to, then really focus on what you can change once baby starts eating.
And I really want to emphasize, breast milk is the probiotic. Breast milk is the prebiotic, the probiotic, and the postbiotic. It is all three in one. It is the perfect package. If you are not breastfeeding your child, or if you were not breastfed, that's okay. But if you do have a baby or planning to have a baby, or let's say for those of you right now that have a baby that's not breastfed and you're doing formula, maybe find a milk bank. I mean, if that was me, I would find a milk bank and get some donated milk that has been screened from healthy people, and you're adding that milk. That is the best over if you're buying a probiotic for your baby. If you're looking for probiotics and stuff like that, first look for a milk bank.
Yes, human milk for human babies is a good resource.
Yes,
there are many approved milk banks as well. If you trust a friend, ask a friend who's breastfeeding. I know I shared breast milk with a couple of my friends. So I got to breastfeed Layla, and thankfully I was so grateful to share some of my extra pumped
with
milk
two other
babies.
So
you might have a friend who's, if you're comfortable with it, not everybody is, but if you're comfortable with it and you trust that person and they're taking good care of their health, that could be a cool option for you.
Yes.
So that breastfeeding, if you can vaginally deliver, and it's not always possible, right, guys? There are cases where someone, for their mental health, for their physical health, they might not vaginally deliver, or they might not breastfeed. That's fine. There are certainly other things that you can do. Someone's asking, what if baby was born via C-section and then they were breastfed for a very long time? Great. Perfect. It's all you, as long as you're kind of intending on incorporating these things, that's great. Perfect.
Yeah, wonderful. Another thing to add just on breast milk evolves, but breast milk changes. So
from hour to hour,
from feeding to feeding. So your body is in tune with your child, and this was true for you and your mother. So as you're feeding, the milk actually takes in some of the baby's saliva through the nipple, and your immune system analyzes that saliva and adjusts the milk accordingly. So blows the mind. So really, really cool stuff here, guys. So breast milk is amazing.
But so now we're to the point of life where maybe baby's eating, right? Maybe baby's 6 months old and they can hold their head up. So that's when we recommend introducing solids, when they've hit both of those milestones. You really want to wait till baby can hold their own head up. They will have much better motor control at that point. So that's when you want to really be introducing solids. And so, that is when you can start introducing a variety. I know there are different ways to introduce food for the first time to baby. There are really great resources out there, like our friend Katie Ferraro, who's a fellow registered dietitian. She runs a page called Baby-Led Weaning, and she has a program to have babies try at least 100 different types of foods by their first birthday. And so check out resources like that. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what her program does, but I could be wrong, you guys. Call me out if I'm wrong. But
Yeah.
I know she helps people reach this 100 food milestone.
Yeah.
So, there's nuance in how you want to introduce that food, but when baby's ready, go for it. You don't have to,
Yeah.
right? They say food before one is just for fun. So you don't have to. If you want to exclusively breastfeed and supplement with vitamin D, you certainly can. But if you're ready to do it, let's get baby a nice variety of different whole foods. So you might start out with different vegetables. You're introducing fruits, you're introducing some whole grains. There are some who recommend iron fortified cereals for babies who might be at risk for iron deficiency. You might offer other iron fortified products or other high iron products, right? Like beans and greens, if that's going to get baby sufficient amounts and you feel that. So, you are offering that nice little variety
And
there.
let us know in the comments, whether you're live or watching this later, if you want us to do a whole episode on what to feed baby, right? We could do that, like good gut baby foods, right? Because we can go into that. But right now,
Yeah.
we're just kind of going through the layers here and eventually just showing the idea here is to show the picture of your childhood, how it relates to you now, your children, what you can do to possibly prevent things. But there's like subcategories here that we can really
Yes.
dive into deeper and go that. So let us know, comment down below, let us know. Also, a quick note, sign up for our newsletter, guys. We have an amazing resource coming. If you're signed up for the newsletter, you'll be the first to know in this next week. So make sure you're signed up at marriedhealth.com. Okay. So we're talking about introducing solids. So think back to when you were 6 months or whenever your parents introduced solids to you. What were those solids? Ask your parents. I mean, I doubt you remember when you were 6 months old, right?
I had a patient tell me something so interesting the other day. She was raised in the 70s and her mom couldn't breastfeed her. She and her siblings had milk protein intolerance. Nowadays, it's cool. We have different formula options. There's soy formula. There are different non-dairy formulas. There are hypoallergenic formulas. Now we have options. In the 70s, not so much. So her mom gave them Kool-Aid and fortified it with a couple different things, and that was their formula. So
they survived.
She survived.
Wait, how old was she?
She was an infant. That was her
An
formula.
infant.
So
whoa.
Ask these questions to your parents, guys, because you just never know, right? All of us are put different situations. And so you never know. You never know what your parents had to do. You never know. And if you're having significant gut issues now, ask your parents, was I constipated as a child? How was my gut health? Did I constantly complain of stomach aches? How often was I taking antibiotics? You might not remember this from early childhood. So ask your family, right? You want to know in those formative years in my gut microbiome, how were things going? What types of foods was I fed in the beginning of my life? They may or may not remember, but I think it's well worth asking. So that way you can kind of understand if you're having gut issues now, where maybe some of these things came from.
And if you also were fed Kool-Aid as infant formula, let us know. We want to know if there's more people out there like that. That's very, see, I like these lives too, because sometimes Dahlia and I are so busy. She forgets to tell me these cool things. And I'm like, wow, I want to know that too. That's cool.
Yeah, we learn interesting things from our patients. But,
very interesting.
You want to inquire those questions. If you are currently a mom or a dad or a caregiver, right? If you take care of children and you're maybe wondering, okay, my kid is starting to eat. How much fiber should they be eating? That's a question that we often wonder. We recommend offering a rainbow of color first and foremost, but then as far as grams go, there are different guidelines out there. So I looked this up. The AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics, suggests 2 different guidelines for fiber intake. So either the age of the child in years plus 5. So if that was our daughter Layla, she's 6.5, that would be 11.5 grams of fiber per day. Was pretty low. I want to say Layla averages a good like 25, 30. Or they said 0.5 grams of fiber per kilogram of body weight. So you want to convert their pounds into kilograms, multiply that by 0.5. So that's their recommendation. So for our daughter Layla, that would be 8 grams of fiber per day. So again, pretty low. They say up to 35 grams a day for children younger than 18. The IOM, the Institute of Medicine, suggests 14 grams of fiber per 1,000 calories consumed. And that could be between 19 and 38 grams, or they're saying, or between 19 and 38 grams per day. These are really different guidelines, you guys. So they're also saying 14 grams per 1,000 calories, or between 19 and 38. So Institute of Medicine's recommendations are much higher than the American Academy of Pediatrics. Why that is, I would have to do more digging to figure that out. But yeah, very interesting. So for our daughter Layla, again, that would be like 21 grams of fiber based on the first recommendation, or, about 25 grams of fiber. The FDA labels guide is 12 grams per 1,000 calories consumed. So again, it's medical advice. It depends on who you ask, but we recommend introducing your kids to fiber early. It's going to acclimate their gut in its formative years on how to digest fiber, right? This whole concept of kid food and adult food, in our opinion, needs to be extinct. We cannot raise our kids on highly processed foods and then expect them to figure it out once they're older and they have gut issues themselves.
So that is Dahlia's long way of saying, when you're introducing these solids, they should be the most nutrient dense solids you can possibly find, you can possibly provide, because it matters. The phytonutrients matters, the vitamins and minerals matter, and the fiber matters. So so important.
Not that we're saying put your kids on an extremely 50-gram high fiber diet. They might not get in the calories that they need that way.
Right.
The fat.
You need fat. We're very gut focused right now, but definitely fat, protein, and yes, you need those other nutrients as well. To give insight on those recommendations, typically when they're giving those recommendations, they've done these massive reviews and meta-analyses and everything. They're about 10 years behind at least, right? So that's data I would guarantee that is at least 10 years old. I would assume as in the next 10 years, as they update these reviews and look more into newer data, we'll see those numbers increase. We'll see some changes happen. Science is always changing, guys. We have a really cool question here too. And just a comment, is it too late to change your gut health to benefit health issues at 60 years old? If you go onto our website at maryhealth.com, you will see right there, right when you go on, our tagline is heal with each meal. It is heal with each meal because
for anyone
at any age, even if you're 160 years old, but for any age, because when you're eating, you are changing your gut microbiota. With each meal, you can make changes for the better. Of course, you can also make changes for the not so good, but with each healthy meal, you can make changes. So it is never too late to make changes to your gut microbiota, your gut microbiome, and help with your health issues. Again, this isn't medical advice saying, yeah, if you just have this one meal and it's going to change your life. No, that's not what I'm saying. But being consistent, building these habits, even at 60 years old, can have huge changes.
And not just for you, right? If you as a grandparent, as an adult influence in someone else's life, a parent, a caregiver, those little eyes who are looking at you are seeing what you're eating. So it's never too late for you to start changing your diet, even if not for yourself. Hopefully it's for yourself, right? We want to pour into our own cups before we're pouring into others. So I'm not saying do these only for other people, but for you and for them, for other little ones who are watching you. I often will see parents tell me, oh, I feed my kids these really healthy meals, but then my husband and I order pizza afterwards, and that's what we eat. So both ways, right? You want to not just say, oh, I eat really healthy and I make myself a salad, but my kids eat chicken nuggets and mac and cheese for dinner, or I feed my kids super healthy, but who cares about me? You guys really want it to be a collaborative effort. Do these things as a family. Eat these foods together
You're hating on those dino nuggets? Dahlia, you're hating on the dino nuggets? Sorry, guys. We're going to hate on the dino nuggets. I'm sorry. No judgment, but...
it can all fit in balance, whatever. But it depends, what you're pairing it with. If it's accompanied by some mac and cheese, it might not be the best for gut health. I'm focused on gut health. I'm not going to talk about relationship with food or anything else. But for gut health, it's not going to be the most conducive to best gut health. So again, introduce those foods to your kids. Model eating that food, trying that food. This I love to teach my patients. Trying the food is not only eating the food. Kids, when we perceive that they're playing with the food, they're having a sensory experience with that food. They're touching it, they're smelling it, they're mushing it in between their hands. They are learning about this food. That is data that they're intaking. So sure, you can have boundaries with that, but I would always encourage kids to smell things. Is it crunchy? Is it soft? How does it sound to you? How does it feel to you? That is them trying it. And we know from studies that it can take up to 25 times of exposing a child to the same food before they've made that decision of like, don't feed me that again. I don't want it. Or, I'm into this food. But if after time number 2, you say, James doesn't like tomatoes, then what is James learning from me as a caregiver or an adult in his life that he doesn't like this thing? I know what's good for James. I'm the adult. So if I'm saying, James, you don't like tomatoes, James is going to close his heart off to tomatoes.
Right. And being and having your kids and even yourself, and again, whether you're 6 years old or you're 60 years old, being a part of this pathway of food. And what I mean by that is, like, when Layla was little, we had this little bumbo and we would put her there and she was in the kitchen. It was this little chair that would like stick on things and it would really hold her in really well. She was probably 6 months old up to 9 months old or something.
No,
we
like
used
2
that.
years old.
2 years old? Okay, there you go. And we put her in that, and when she was in the kitchen, she was hearing us chop. She was seeing us chop. So even the preparation of food is a great way to help with your digestion, to prepare your gut microbiota, to prepare all the mechanisms and all the chemical reactions going on to prepare you to eat. And so she is smelling the garlic and hearing the pan saute and smelling things from the oven and seeing it. And she's salivating. She's like, little kids know what is going on. And then when they're ready to eat, they've already started the preparation to digest and this relationship. Exactly. Now, taking a step further, even now, we're picking the kale from our garden, we're picking the chard, we're picking the figs.
Or she's helping us get it from the store or the farmer's market.
Right, whatever the case is, and that is another layer to it as well. So don't discount and leave out the exposure aspects of it. That is also going to help with your microbiome on many different levels, especially when you're talking kids. And maybe that wasn't your childhood. It definitely wasn't my childhood. And it definitely wasn't, or kind of was Dahlia's. Kind of was Dahlia's. So that's cool.
It was a mix.
It was a mix, yeah. And maybe it wasn't, but it's never too late, guys. It's never too late. So we're just giving you insight in the childhood aspect, whether you are a parent or you're not, to look back and go, wow, these factors are interesting. I didn't know this. Hopefully you learned something new. And we have some other cool questions, but yeah, so that way you just have this insight and this perspective, because your story matters. Your health story matters. What happened to you and a child and what your parents were doing matters. And
now we want you to be empowered. So not to feel a victim of these different things or resent your parents. All of us as parents, we're trying to
send them a nasty worded email
but it's just to say, okay, how can I empower myself to now foster really great gut health for myself? And I've lived through that. I used to have severe gut issues when I met James 12 years ago, and I've worked back against them. And for the most part, I live with a great gut, and I know when I'm extremely stressed, because that's when I have gut issues nowadays, but I'm able to eat and tolerate a wide variety of foods. And we want that for you too. So we're excited today to announce that in this next coming week, turn on subscriptions. Like James said, if you want, subscribe to our newsletter on our website. We are releasing a Good Gut book or ebook for you and your family. It's going to be Good Gut A to Z
guide.
So for all ages and stages, if you're a 60-year-old, for that person who is asking that, can I use this book? Yes. Can your 6-month-old use this book? Yes. It's going to teach you several foods from each and every letter of the alphabet, A through Z. It's going to teach you about the food. It is going to teach you what other nutrients and benefits are in the food to your gut and other places in your body. It is going to teach you how to eat the food and provide you with a recipe for every single one of the foods. So there are over 100 recipes in this book. There are about 125 recipes. So if you're like, hey, I want some plant-based recipes, I want to eat new foods, keep your notifications turned on, subscribe, and we are going to be coming out with this in this week.
Yes. So we hope you learned something great today. This is just the first phase of it. Childhood. We're going to get into adolescence. We're going to get into adulthood and continue with our topics.
I want to answer
we'll answer some other questions. MarriedToHealth.com if you want to subscribe, learn more, and links down below. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, you can get those links. You have let's answer another question.
Someone was asking the safety of turmeric in pregnancy.
Oh, yeah.
It's certainly safe to eat. You can use turmeric powder in cooking, fresh turmeric root you can grate. There are no really solid studies to show safety or even negative deleterious effects during pregnancy with capsules. So I don't think that we can stand behind recommending that anyone supplement with turmeric capsules, because again, these are concentrated doses. There's not necessarily data to show if that can have ill effects on mom, if that can have ill effects on baby and bleeding. So eat it in its whole food form. Ask your personal care team, because we're not here to provide one-on-one medical advice. But my recommendation at this time, if it were my patient, I would probably say don't risk it. And that's per NIH recommendations as well.
Yeah. And just to add some context to that, keep in mind turmeric and many of these like roots that are concentrated, the rhizomes and everything. So with that, it's important to understand your microbiome is helping you. So your microbiota, your microbes are actually what is I'm blanking on the phytochemical complex. Oh, curcumin. So the curcumin, and I'm like, yeah, it's been a long day. Curcumin, your body's not absorbing curcumin, right? You're not like, oh yeah, curcumin, and I'm gonna use that in my bloodstream, and then that curcumin's gonna go to my this and that. It technically no, and technically yes. So it's actually curcumin is being broken down by your beneficial microbes in your gut. Curcumin is going to be transformed into other chemicals that will then indirectly get absorbed and get used, whether in your intestines or in your bloodstream. So it's important to understand that, yeah, you're using turmeric, but really your microbes are using turmeric. So that's yet another reason to have a good gut, right? To learn about your gut health, to really make that a really big emphasis for your kids and beyond. So, okay.
Great questions from those in our group. And if you guys are interested in joining our private Facebook group where people have exclusive access to us, that is for our patients. And it's kind of like a nice little collective, a nice community for those who maybe graduated from having severe gut issues and now they're in that maintenance phase. So oftentimes they'll want to sign up for our group membership. So that's something we offer. If you guys wanted to see us one-on-one, we're coming out with ebooks. We are working on exciting things for next year. So keep an eye out. We posted a poll and it sounded like a lot of you were interested in a course. So keep your eyes out. Yep. All right, guys, it's been fun. Thank you so much. And we encourage you this weekend, every day of your life, to think about how you can heal with each meal.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.